Hey guys, it's me Charita and welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And today I'm using a new camera to film this video. I recently got it and I'm super excited about this upgrade. Very thankful and grateful to upgrade to a new camera. So coming back to the video, this video is all about finding jobs in the biotech industry. Since I've already made some videos about my life as a student at Northeastern, I get a lot of questions about how to apply for co-ops and how to apply for jobs. I've already made a very detailed video on how you can apply for co-ops and what kind of the ranges are to expect for compensation, but this video is going to be all about the job search during recession, because I know the market's not the best and I want this video to be really to the point so that I don't go off topic. So I have 5 different things that I'm going to talk about in this video. I have a list on my phone and we'll be talking about those 5 topics. So those 5 topics would be how to apply for jobs, and then tips for interviews, what interview structure is like and what are good interview etiquettes, and lastly we'll talk about compensation negotiation. So yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. So without wasting any further time, let us get into the video. So the first part is how to apply for jobs. So I am a Northeastern graduate. I did my professional science masters in biotechnology, but I think this could also apply to other programs because Northeastern has a really good co-op program. So if you have the co-op experience, it gives you an edge over other graduate students from other universities because you kind of have that professional experience of working in an industry for a 6 month, and I think that comes in really handy when you're giving interviews. So how you can apply for interviews is the best source according to me to apply for interviews is LinkedIn. I applied to all the positions through LinkedIn, and you can also set search according to the cities. I only wanted to apply in the Boston Cambridge area because it is a hub for biotechnology worldwide, so I do not want to move away from Boston Cambridge, especially as I was starting my career. So the thing that nobody tells you is you will get a lot of rejections, and I'm going to be super honest here. If you apply to 50 positions, you'll get 95% rejections, and maybe 1 or 2 people would actually call you to go ahead in the interviews. So I would suggest you to apply as many positions as possible, but that does not mean that you're going to apply to positions that do not apply to you. If you are a scientist who's trained to work in the lab, you can't really apply for bioinformatics positions and vice versa. So LinkedIn was the #1 resource for me and it worked for me. Then the second thing that you can do is always put open to work in your LinkedIn profile. So once you do that, a lot of recruiters all over LinkedIn will message you and tell you about the positions that you have. The second way is to apply through recruiters. They look for jobs for you. They won't really charge you anything. So if they're asking you for money, that means some shady business is going on. These recruiters will message you and tell you about the job vacancies that you have and what kind of roles the companies are looking for, and if you feel like any of them look good to you, you can proceed with interviews. I did get contacted by recruiters and I also talked to a few of them, but for me the process was pretty slow. So I already was going ahead with my own process by applying through LinkedIn, so I did not really take the recruiter process forward. And the third thing is message a lot of people. Look at the seniors from your university who are working in the companies that you're interested in. Send them a LinkedIn message and also send them an email. I say that you should do both because most people don't really look at their LinkedIn on a day-to-day basis. For example, I don't really look at my LinkedIn every day. I do look at my emails every day. So I would suggest you to contact them both via a LinkedIn message and then an email, and generally they would reply to you and it would help you get referred to one of the positions that you think are a good fit for you. But another thing that you really need to do is advocate for yourself and tell them why you're a good fit. And you really need to follow up with people. Don't feel like if that would be too much. When I say follow up, I don't mean that you have to like go and message them or email them every day, but I think following up once a week is a good start. So that is how you can apply to various job positions. And some of the job positions also like mention what they're offering as salary compensation. I will talk about the compensation at the end of the video, but yeah, the compensation that they mention on their job description would actually help you give an idea about what starting salary you can expect. So the second topic that I want to talk to you about is the interview structure. So how the interviews are structured for the biotech pharma companies. So it can be two ways. It could be through a recruiter or it could be a direct LinkedIn position that you applied to. So let me talk about the recruiter first. So if a recruiter contacts you, they'll get on a phone call with you, they'll ask you to send your resume prior, and they'll get to know you a bit, and then they'll be like, yeah, this sounds nice, I'll send you some of the positions that are open, go through them and let me know if you're interested in any one of those. And if you're applying directly through LinkedIn to a job position, the first call would be an HR call, which is basically a 30-minute telephonic interview. Some people also do a 30-minute Zoom interview, but that is not as common in the industry. So in the 30-minute HR interview, they'll just talk to you. They'll do most of the talking. They'll tell you about the company and what the role kind of entails and what the job description is. They'll also ask you a little bit about yourself. So one thing that you should absolutely be prepared for is tell me a little bit about yourselves, because that is one of the favorite questions that all the people in all of the phases of interview are going to ask you. So that is what will happen in the HR interview too. And also, like, talking about the recruiter part of the interview, if recruiter has sent you some positions and you're interested in those, you'll also get a call from the HR. So basically recruiter has just one extra call where you talk to the recruiter first before hearing from the HR for that company or that position. So after you've had your HR interview, the next part would be the interview with a hiring manager. So this interview would be either 30 to 45 minutes, and it could be a Zoom interview, a Teams interview, or a telephonic interview. Telephonic interview in this part of interview is not that common, so it would be a video call interview, and the hiring manager would ask you more about yourself. So you'll have to kind of do most of the talking. I think you'll have to do about 80 to 90% of the talking, because they'll have your resume in front of them and they'll expect you to tell them about your experience. What subjects did you like take in your master's degree or your undergrad degree, and what projects you work on. If you have any previous work experience, you can also talk about your previous work experience here. Since it's a 30 to 45 minute interview, you don't really have to go very deep, and then the interviewer would also tell you about what their position is, what they do for the company. So that would be your second interview. The second interview is with the hiring manager, and then if they feel like you're a good candidate and a good fit for the role, the next interview would be a team interview. The team interview is basically an interview where you get 30 minutes of interview with each person. Sometimes two people also interview you together. For my team interview, I had to interview with about 5 people, and it was a 3.5 hour long interview, because you'll interview with the team members. They'll ask you questions about, tell me a little bit about yourself, and if you've worked on any particular projects, they'll ask you about your projects, and if you have work experience, they'll ask you about your work experience. And in these interviews, you have to make sure that you're talking about 70 to 80% of the time. And by talking, I do not mean that if someone's speaking or asking you a question, you have to cut them off. Find ways to like tell them that you're a good fit for the role. Tell them about your experiences, what you've done in the lab. And I know that everybody is really nervous during these interviews. So if you have to practice in front of a mirror, do that. If you have a friend that really hypes you up, talk to them before the interview so that you're all hyped up. So at end of the team interview, you'll have a 30-minute interview with the HR again, and then they'll move on to the next stage of interview. The next stage of interview would be either interview with the CSO or CEO if they are a small startup, or the director of the team or VP if they're like a larger biotech company. After you go through with the 4 interviews that I talked about, the last call would be the call from the HR. If they decide to go with you, they'll tell you that like the team is really interested and they would like to offer you position, and at this part they'll talk about the benefits that they would offer and ask you about what starting date you could start at, and then also what kind of compensation you would want. So that is what the basic interview process is in a biotech or a pharma company. They could add or remove certain interviews, but like that is mainly the gist of it. So we're gonna talk about the third part, which is tips for interviews. The first tip that I have for you is know everything that you've put on your resume, because if you put something on it and you don't know it, it would reflect badly on you during the interview. I know when we're applying for interviews, we wanna put in like almost everything, but that doesn't necessarily work, because you need to only put the techniques or the skills that you have actually worked on or have hands-on training on. For example, if you have never done flow cytometry, I wouldn't put it on your resume, because if the interviewer asks you questions about flow cytometry, you won't necessarily have the answer to that, which would make you really nervous, would impact your whole interview. So I would avoid doing that. And the next point that I'm going to make also draws from this, that be confident about what you know. I know that it is easier said than done, but again, as I said, practice in front of a mirror, have mock interviews with your friends, and have a hype friend that actually hypes you up. So next very important thing while you're interviewed is being honest. If the interviewer asks you a question that you don't necessarily know the answer to, just be honest and tell them that you don't know the answer to that, instead of like coming up with an answer with whatever knowledge you have, because again that would just reflect badly on you. And the next thing is that you should have the ability of explaining science intelligently. By explaining science, I don't mean that you have to like go in very deep into what you did or like talk about multiple papers that you've read, but just having a basic understanding of science and putting it across in a way that the interviewer also understands that. And the last and the most important tip is the interpersonal skills do matter. And it becomes really hard for introverted people to actually show their interpersonal and communication skills during the interview, because introverted people generally tend to answer the questions they're asked, but they'll never like start a conversation. My advice is that you should be able to speak for about 60 to 70% of the interview, so that interviewer can like see that you're really good at interpersonal skills like communication, you can explain science. And if you want me to do a full-fledged video on interviews, what questions to ask and how to answer questions, I would be happy to do that. But since this video is already so long and I don't want to make it longer, I wouldn't really go into the kind of interview questions that get asked and the kind of questions you can ask the interviewers. Okay, so fourth point is interview etiquettes. I feel like most people don't really think about it, but I feel like it is very important, especially when I was interviewing for either co-op positions or for full-time positions. I made sure to like send an email to people thanking them for their time, and it was not based on if I would get a job offer or not. It's just like basic interview etiquette to thank people for their time and for taking the time to interview out of their like normal schedule. They actually have to like take that time aside and like look through your resume, think of what questions to ask you. So I did it for each and every one of the interviews that I ever had. I always made it a point to send a thank you email. Whenever you get emails for interview, they would mention the person who is going to interview you and their email, so always like thank them for interviewing you. And I feel like this is something that not a lot of people do, but it makes such a difference, and that is something that you should definitely do. And now we're on to the last part of the interview, which is the most interesting one, and I feel like all of you must be waiting for this part. So that is compensation, how to like negotiate your salary, what kind of compensation to ask for. So I will give you the ranges for the current market rate, and keeping recession in mind, I feel like you should not like push a lot for getting a higher salary than they are offering, because like looking at the market rate, having a job right now, a stable job where you'll not get fired or get laid off, is a big thing, and you should be grateful for that. So let us first go to how the negotiation would start. So when you make it to the final round of the interview, the HR would give you a call. They would either tell you that this is the range that we're offering, or they'll ask you what range do you want, what salary do you want. So in most cases, the HRs would tell you that this is the salary that we're offering, and then you can look at the number and you can see if you actually feel that is a good number or not. So for the year 2022 and 2023, the salary ranges for master's student, graduate students from biotech or pharma range from $70,000 to $90,000 per annum, and it is a big range. So you have a lot of wiggle room to negotiate, but like expecting getting 100k as soon as you're starting is a little not practical, I would say. You can definitely get it at some companies, but from what I've seen, like if you're applying to an research associate or a senior research associate, that is something that is not that practical. So saying that the salary ranges are from 70,000 to 90,000, it would depend from company to company what they're gonna offer you. You should always try to negotiate your salary. The case for me was because I was interviewing and I didn't have people to help me out. I had no idea what the starting salary ranges were like, and I had like no seniors or people that I could talk to, and that is one of the reasons I'm actually making this video. So if you're like watching it, you can get an idea about what the ranges are and how to negotiate. So I didn't really negotiate for my salary. I had offers from 2 other companies as well. So the company that I was interested in was offering me a lower salary, so I just talked to HR and I was like, yeah, the other companies are offering me this much, so but I like your company better, so I would definitely want to work for you. So she did offer me like a few $100s more than the other company, and I was like, yeah, amazing, you're giving me like money to work for you, I would be happy to work for you. But I feel like you should definitely negotiate. Don't be like me and not negotiate. Definitely negotiate, definitely go for what you think you're worth, because in most cases you are right and you know how much you deserve. But I would say just don't like inflate your ego and be like, oh, for my starting range I want 130k, because that is not going to happen. So that is how the negotiation works. And if you have any like seniors, or if you know of any people who work in the industry already, ask them for help, ask them what their salaries are, like be direct about it. If they don't want to tell you, they won't tell you, and most people would actually help you, give you ranges of what their salary is currently, so that would really help you out. So if you are doing a co-op at one company and then you get a full-time job at another company, go back and reach out to the people where you were doing the co-op, talk to them and ask them what the current market rates are, so that you have awareness about what the current market rate is and what is going on. I would not suggest you to like make up a fake job offer and tell your HR that this is what I'm getting from this another company, because like the HR network is like pretty close and they're like always know some people who are in that company and they can always get that information, and if they actually do that, it would reflect badly on you. So yeah, that is all I had for you. These are literally my secrets and I'm spilling them all for you guys so that you guys can like take them, and hopefully this helps you out. Let me know in the comments below if this video is helpful for you guys, and if you want another video where you need help with what interview questions to ask the interviewer and what questions the interviewer would ask you, and I would be like really happy to make this video. And of course, in case you like this video, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to reach 5,000 subscribers this year because I've been making videos for 5 years and I think I deserve it. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next video next Monday. Until then, bye.